Dear students, good morning. I am Dr. Kishore, Professor in Department of ECE. Welcome back to the series of talks on universal human values. In the first two videos, we have seen about the universal respect and the ethics involved in keeping up the universal human values. And today, we are going to have a talk on how to share these values, because acquiring knowledge is important, but disseminating it is very, very important. You may be wondering why we are handling this moral values classes to graduate students. As I mentioned in my earlier videos, there is a significance, and the significance has got some outcomes. The outcomes can be power, access, learning, positive thinking, growth, everything else. But if you ask me that, sir, can you pick up one which is an immediate outcome of understanding the moral values, I would like to say that it is the clarity about yourself. It is the clarity about your surroundings. It is the clarity about your self-exploration process. This is what learning or keeping in brush with human values will enable any individual. So you can ask that, can you list out the values? The list is never ending, and the list is unique, the list is universal. The list is unique with your predetermined conditions, limitations, understanding. The list is universal when you come into the fabric of ethical system of the society. But if you ask me that, in today's video, we emphasize upon how to share the values. In fact, we try to teach human values. In fact, we try to preach human values. But the best way to transform the values to the system is to practice, to set an example. So let us see that this is the meaning of it. Let us share the human values to the people in an infectious manner by just doing it on every day in and day out. Let us see that couple of human values today. Compassion. We are in the spree of realizing our passion throughout our life, but unfortunately we miss this element of compassion. When compassion comes into my mind, I always remember some of the great lessons I have learned from pandemic. Yes, pandemic has taught wonderful lessons to humanity. In fact, pandemic has made us to remember about the faith in our human system. On a pandemic day when the restrictions are too high, I was trying to involve in a team who indulged every day in distributing some food packets. I remember it as mid-afternoon. When we were distributing the food packets, we went to a place where under a construction bridge, there is a tetraplegic sitting there. Our team went there, approached him to give a food packet. Out of our surprise, he denied it. I went personally and asked him, what's wrong? I know very well that evening you are not going to have a food packet, because with a lot of difficulty we just trying to distribute the food packets now. How can you survive in the evening? You can even store this for evening if you have one packet with you. And with a low voice, he said an answer, which is still ringing in my mind. Sir, you rightly said I have a food packet, but I don't worry about evening. From last 2 days, there is an old man near the third pillar suffering without food. Kindly hand over this extra food packet to that old man. Do we need a status to show the compassion? Do we need the degrees to exhibit your level of concern about others? Is it not the small heart and concern that makes you more compassionate than anybody else in this world? Really, I was moved with this gesture of understanding the suffering of others. This is what compassion is all about. You can see even in this tree, according to William Wordsworth, even though the twig is bending, but tree always tries to grow. You can wonder that why I am showing this to you. In the journey of keeping yourself consistent in maintaining the values, you always be tested like this tree. Even though there are bends in the road of your journey, you have to travel. That is the only objective that one has to maintain in the process of evolving as a better human being. This is another statement which makes me so good. A sense of concern for others gives a meaning to the life. It is very, very important. Once again, the pandemic times rings in my mind. When we were going one day through a rough road, a dusty road, we have seen an old lady, about 75 years old, standing there. We went to that particular lady and we have given some food and water. But when we look at our bag, our food packets are empty. Then we try to get it from nearby hotel. And I am standing out, my friend went inside to get some food and water for her. You know what that lady has done? She looked at me for some time and she called like this, "You come here." I was standing under sun. She called me that you come here. I was doubting what are her other wishes. She called me near and said, "You please stand under the shade." This is wonderful, right? See, we are there to help her and she is showing her concern to us. There is no compulsion to show that concern, but there are human beings who always maintains these wonderful gestures. Really, we prayed for her. This is what concern about others. This gives the real happiness. Happiness, as I told earlier in my previous slide, that it is all about making your life happy and making others' life happy. But who inspires us in the process of sharing the values? Who inspires us? Generally the teachers. The teachers has to do consistently in the classroom whatever may be the subject we are teaching to them. And the students also look forward for parents. In fact, if parents are not able to spend enough time, it is always good if you have grandparents. If none of them are there, don't worry, life teaches you. Life is the wonderful master who teaches the values, who makes you to understand the value of values. Thank you for listening. We'll come up with next video on universal human values. Thank you.